Welcome. This is the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, and we are so glad that you've made it to a calmer corner of your day. Here, we focus on real solutions, practical help, and the kind of encouragement we could all use a little more of. So let's get to it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, Aging in Place Directory Podcast, or the YouTube channels for either one of those. Wherever you're watching this or listening to this, welcome. I'm Esther Kane, retired occupational therapist, aging in place specialist, and certified dementia care specialist. And before we begin this interview, I want to take a quick moment for an introduction and a small apology as well. So today I had the pleasure of speaking with Faust Ruggiero, and he is a nationally known and recognized therapist, researcher, and an author of 6 books. I have all 6 right here. Check them out on Amazon. Just look for Faust Ruggiero. It's Ruggiero. Very Italian name. He is the creator of the Process Way of Life, which is an empowering framework that he uses to help people find emotional balance and to live with purpose. And his career has spanned over 40 years in just about every setting, in clinical, in corporate, and even in correctional settings. He covers, his books are in the Fix Yourself Empowerment series, is what he calls these 6 books. And they cover everything from anxiety, depression, relationships, aging, addiction, and more. So you'll see, I'll have links to them in the show notes for the podcast and in the description for the YouTube channels. But I do encourage you to go on to Amazon, to go onto his website at faustruggiero.com. I'll have a link to that as well. Now, a quick confession before we jump into the actual interview. I made a rookie mistake and I want to apologize, and I did not hit the record button right away at the beginning of the interview, and that was totally my fault. So I want to apologize to Mr. Ruggiero, and I want to apologize to you as well. There's just no excuse. I was just inundated with work, and I got right into the the Zoom call to do the video, to do the interview, and I just did not hit record. So I wanted to do this video to introduce him properly and to let you know of his credentials and the amazing work that he's done. And when you see the interview, you'll see the passion coming through about his work, because he doesn't just talk about it, he also lives it. And I think that says a lot. People can talk, can say anything they want, but it's what they do that really tells the story. So even with that little hiccup of not hitting the record button, this conversation was full of incredible insights and about emotional wellness and self-growth, self-gratitude, and truly living a meaningful life, which is so important for all of us, no matter what age. Now, because I am in the senior niche, let's say, that's my jam. I wanted to focus on, or I focused many of the questions on retirement and how to adjust in the process, how to plan for retirement, how to adjust through the process of retirement. I don't know about you, but so many of my friends have recently retired, and they seem a little lost. They're having a very difficult time adjusting to this new pattern of life. But Faust, explains very well what needs to be done in order to make that a smooth transition, a purposeful, to lead a more purposeful and just really an amazing life in the next 20, 30, 40 years that you have in retirement. So, without further ado, here's my interview with Mr. Faust Ruggiero. Okay.
And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to say, this is my new life. I get to do what I want to do, and I'm going to go do that. Sometimes there are limitations. Maybe we're caring for someone else, or we have some things we need to do, but we certainly can be able to say, yeah, it's my time now, and I want to chase some of those dreams.
Exactly. But I find from most of my friends is that they are not sure what their dreams are.
Well, you know what? People will say that to me, and you don't have to know. The key is just to stay active. Be active. What you don't want to do is say, all right, I'm retired. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to watch some television or movies. Maybe I'll go on a walk or something. The key is to stay active doing anything. If you do that, your mind stays engaged, your body it continues, everything continues to flow, and then plugging into something, it will happen. You'll want to do something. The routine will get old, and you'll want to do something.
It's true. I've had several friends who've retired, and after 2, 3 months, they're antsy. They don't quite know what to do, or they seem quite depressed. They haven't adjusted. So, how important do you think the whole concept of planning? Not waiting for it to happen, but planning for it to happen.
I do employee assistance program for corporations, and when people are getting ready to retire, we've always asked the people to come and see me for a session or two, exit interviews, if you will. And that's the first question. I say, okay, fine. First of all, it's two questions. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Really want to do this? And that doesn't mean do I like my supervisor or do I like getting up? Do you still are you at a point where you're done? I don't want to do this work anymore. If the answer is yes, the second question is always, okay, what's your plan?
yeah,
And you don't have to have the plan that becomes active tomorrow. It's a
right.
plan. You may say, I'm going to take a couple months off. God bless you, go do it. But then have the next step. Where are you going next?
Yeah,
And that's not something you plan in the last month before you retire. That should be something a year ahead of time you're starting to flow into, and you start to create the foundation for that. And if you haven't done that, then that's okay. Get active, exercise, be socially active if you can, read, do things to engage your mind. Everything will can follow from that point, but don't get sedentary. That's the key.
absolutely, absolutely. I think learning something new is a very important factor. Do you find that most people just shy away from that? They don't want to do that.
Just a quick break. If you're hunting for meaningful holiday gifts for an older adult or a caregiver, I've rounded up my favorite ideas at seniorsafetyadvice.com/gifts. They're practical, uplifting, and perfect for showing you care. That's seniorsafetyadvice.com/gifts now. Let's continue.
Some people do. We're not a species that loves change, and I always tell people it doesn't have to be a big change. Make it a small change, but by all means, the new things are fun. I when I hit my 60s, I said, "Am I going to write a book now?" Well, I said, "Yeah, I'm going to try this." And before I did that, I didn't just get in and hit the computer and start running. I knew basically what I wanted to write about. Then I took about almost a year, and I really learned the publishing industry first. So there was my first step. I didn't have to step right in and write. I knew what I wanted to write, but let me learn about formats and agents and publicists and publishing houses and all the various things you need to do, so that when I started, I didn't get overwhelmed and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know about this." So I did
Okay.
that. Now writing the book was much easier. I talked to people who had written. I talked to the pros who help people. There are people that help people get into the the whole business of writing. So I needed to learn how to go from a good writer to a writer for publication. That's a very different concept.
True.
So once I did that, and if you're in retirement and financially you're okay, maybe you have a pension or you have your Social Security or what it may be, you were going to spend that time doing nothing anyway. So why not spend it learning? Go to a community college, go online, take courses,
Right.
do, you can take a course in doing something and learn that within 6 months, and before you know it, you're now doing something that you've always wanted to do, and you're getting paid to do it because you've earned that money.
That's right. That's right. And now I think, with so much online, it doesn't matter where you live. You could be in a rural area, you could be in a college town. I mean, I get it. I understand going to a college, be it a community college or state college, whatever. I mean, I get it. You're in the environment and that's amazing, but you can't always do that. And not every class or every lecture or what topic is going to be taught in your physical area. But I love the idea of just finding anything online, which you can these days,
Hmm.
but then taking that information. I find some friends are very big into self-help books or anything like that, and those are great. I mean, I'm a big advocate of those. I call them the counselor on the shelf,
Hmm.
and I think that they're great, but it's one thing to sit and read them, but it's another thing to take the next step and actually do them. And
When I started writing, again, one of the things I did was a literature review, and I said, "Look at all this fantastic information, and it's a ton of it." And then I said, just what you were alluding to, it doesn't tell anyone what to do with it.
I
So,
know,
so there was the niche. So all my books are written as small chapters, 7 or 8 pages, and then there are a half a dozen action steps. Okay, we're covering this problem. You need to do this. That's what people come back and say. Finally, someone said, here's the information. It wasn't presented in 30 or 40 or 50 pages, and then went on to the next chapter. It was 7 or 8 pages. I got the facts condensed. I understood it. Now you said, do these things.
beautiful,
And I get a
beautiful.
and when we published, they said, what's your target audience? And I really didn't want to have one because the
Yeah,
books are written for anyone.
yeah.
But they said it'll probably be women, and it'll be between 25 and 40. If I can tell you how many seniors read my books, they weren't supposed to. And not only women, men.
I love it.
Men and women together are reading things because it's all the topics that we go through every day.
Right,
You know, how
right.
many of us as seniors didn't set our boundaries too well with our kids, for example, and now we're paying the price. Well, there's boundary setting chapters and how to defend those. So we now have the time to do what we want to do. We
Right.
just have to define what it is. And the other thing, real important thing is, so we're older, and maybe it's aches or pains or whatever. Don't surrender to that. Don't surrender to, I'm weaker now, or I'm not as smart, or I can't keep up. Don't go there.
Right.
It's the old thing where the old man knocks at the door and we're locking them out.
Right.
That's not who we are. We are not old people who are finished living. We are people who ended a career, are a little older and wiser, and
Yeah.
we have the mental power to move forward and be as powerful as we want to be. We have to do it, though. We have to believe in ourselves.
Exactly. I mean, mindset is so important, so important. And I think you're absolutely right. I love that the chapters are small. I love that there's the action steps. And I think that to, I mean, personally, I think taking that information, and like you said, we're older, we're wiser, we're more comfortable with ourselves, we're not so concerned about, I mean, hopefully what others think or others do. We're in our zone. It's a beautiful thing. Really. I love it. But I think taking that information and like you're doing, the next step, teaching it, because you learn so much when you teach. And I
Mhm.
don't care if it's consulting or volunteering, speaking to support groups, or being a guest at a college class. I don't care, whatever it is. Take that skill, all that you've learned, be it with family life, be it with work, be it whatever, and teach it, because not only does that bring in the socialization factor, but I think it also gives, you a goal, and it forces you in a way to learn more, to engage more, and look, we all learn from the students that we teach, right?
So we do. We should.
Yeah, well, yeah, we should. You're right. You're right. But I love that concept, and I try very hard to tell that to my share that with my friends and families. But I find it interesting. I find the men are more akin to that, and the women are, I don't know, they want to
Well,
do more of the
our gener
social things.
our generation is still, role oriented. So a lot of times women would take the
Yeah.
second seat, and I always tell them, you don't need to do that. I have a woman that came in and retires at the age of 65 from a sewing factory. So really her job was to get up every day. She took care of her home, two kids, the husband, wonderful family. And but she said, well, what do I have to offer? I was domestic, I was home, I went to the factory, I didn't make a lot of money, but it helped us, to get by. What do I have to offer? I said, do you have any hobbies? Well, she said just two, sewing and yoga. She was started to do yoga. I said, well, yoga, let's take yoga, for example. You learned it. Are you pretty good? Well, I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. Yeah. I said, have you thought about taking classes to become an instructor? I don't know how good I am with people. I said, do you go to the classes? Yes. 7 or 8 women there, probably. Yeah, and a few guys. Okay. Do you participate? Yes. Do you talk? Because yeah. Every now and then you take a little bit of the spotlight. Yeah. I said, well, the training helps you to take more of the spotlight. The, she now was hired by this instructor that she was taking classes from to do a class, one class a week. She loved it.
Of course.
She's now taken her second class.
Wow.
Having that second class, she's just doing the same thing she was always doing. She expanded the role, and the change. That little risk was, I'm going to be in front of the class telling them to do the things we learned how to do anyway.
Right.
And so now she's going back to become more advanced in the program. And she's now had an offer because the woman was teaching the class, was getting ready to retire. She said, well, I don't know if I want to retire. Are you interested in coming into the business with me? So now we
Oh,
have this 66-year-old woman who was saying, it's that there's not much of a buy-in. She rents the place. It's just going to be her and I doing some things. I have to put a little money in to cover expenses, and we're going to have our business, and we're going to keep going. Now, domestic, worked in a factory, high school education, wasn't someone who thought she could go out and influence anyone. And, you're a yoga teacher, you're not just teaching those moves. There's a philosophy, there's a whole mental and spiritual part of that if you want to get into it. Now she's advising just a little bit.
wow.
She's changing lives.
So she's expanding,
She's
expanding
expanding.
that one skill into others. Yeah, diversifying and
Exactly.
expanding. And it is amazing to me how one thing can lead to another, and so on, if you're open to it. I think there's opportunities around us all the time, and we just have to be open to it. And like you said before, I know that people are traditionally not, they don't like change. That's true. But at the same time, life is change. That's all it is.
It never stops.
It never stops. It's constant. And I think learning to accept that, do you think that that's the basis of a happy life throughout life,
It
is
is,
accepting
and,
that
and,
change?
and what happens with people is they get overwhelmed because they think of this is where I am, that's where I have to be. Look at the big change I have to make. And I keep telling people there's no such thing as change. Unless you're traumatized, there's nothing, there's no change that occurs in leaps and bounds. It's small incremental movements. Don't plan the goal. That's your goal. Plan your action steps one after another. Well, first, I
Mm,
need to do this.
mm,
Then I need to do this. I mean,
mm-hmm,
that's the way we set goals up.
mm-hmm.
I was telling you that when I decided to write. I didn't jump right into a book. Many people have my incremental forward movement, those little steps were learning the business, learning what I had to do, getting the proper computer programs, etc. All those things. When it was time, I cut a lot of the work out. So if you're going to move forward, just think of the steps. Set a goal for today. I'm going to do this today. When tomorrow comes, well, I'll do this for my program today. You know, you mentioned I'm the most interviewed self-help author. I'm going to be 71, you
Oh,
know,
congrats, you
and
look amazing.
well, thank you. But you know, that's what happens when you stay engaged,
Right.
you know. And another thing I tell seniors is please don't just sit, exercise. Get
Yes.
it, go to a YMCA or a club or even get some things in your house. You're talking a half hour a day.
Right.
And I know a retired person has a half an hour a day.
Right.
Get your body healthy so when you get up and your mind wants to plug in, your body's coming along with you.
Yeah. Yeah, movement is so important.
It
You know,
is.
I myself, after my husband passed away, I moved into a community that's very walkable.
Right.
So every day I can walk to the park, I can walk to the shops, I can walk, it's very walkable. So every day it's 30 to 60 minutes of getting out and walking and on top of everything else, on top of all the usual household movement kind of
Right.
things. But yeah,
You know,
that
what
movement
you're
is so
doing should
important.
inspire people. Your husband has passed away. Many women would say, okay, well, no, I have to get a little place or I'm going to go live with so and so or what. And they're not doing the next step.
Yeah.
You should be, you're an inspiration. They should look and say, look what Esther's doing. Her
Oh,
husband passed, she retired, and she's got this whole new career. And it
right,
isn't people like you and I are people that are doing what we're doing have anything more than any of the rest of us.
right,
We just decided to do it. That's
right,
all. That was
right.
the first decision. I'm not sitting, I am going to do something. I am going to say, I could be around 20 more years. Well, you know, what do I want that to look like? Do I want to get up and watch television? What's on television? You know?
Right.
No?
Well, it's working backwards. You have the goal and now you work backwards. I have a friend of mine whose goal was to retire and to be on a board, of a company, nonprofit kind of thing, whatever. That's his goal. So he knew that in order to do that successfully, he needed to be a CEO of something. In order to be a CEO, he needed to be a VP. In order to be a VP, you need to be head of whatever department. And he started off in marketing and he just progressed because he had this goal, this final goal, and he took those steps, but he went backwards. What do I need to do to get to this? And he was amazing, or he is amazing. Every January, he would review those steps and those goals. What was he able to do? What couldn't he do? What's the next thing? If he had to change something. And sure enough, he made it, became CEO company, and now he's retired and he's working on two boards.
And that's the way it works.
Right,
You are right. You look at it and say, okay, what did I have to do? But the next step in that process is to look and say, okay, this is how they did that, or maybe even I did some of it. That they were back there and they wanted to come forward. Here are all the steps. Well, I use that philosophy now. I'm not looking at a 40-year career. I might be talking about the next 10 years. What do I want to do now? What are those little steps I have to make? I'm going to do this now.
right.
It doesn't matter. We're not conquering the world. We're just embracing our own. That's all. That's what we're doing.
Right. Even with exercise, if you're not a very active person, start off with 20 steps. And next week you're going to do 40 steps and then so on and so on. Whatever it is, whatever number you give it. But the point is your goal is 10,000 steps, then go backwards and start working towards there. And plus that also gives you a timeline.
It
you
does.
know, then
Gives you something
in
to
three
plug
months,
into.
4 months, I'll be there kind of thing.
In the first book, the Fix Yourself Handbook, I actually do a chapter on goal setting, and and actually had seniors in mind when I wrote it because I tell them you have to have a long-term goal that stays constant pretty much. Then you have a few short-term goals, two or three of those. Those help you get to the long-term goal. Under every short-term goal are three action steps. So
Ah,
now, if you do that, the neat thing about the program is, and you actually set up your grid. I show them how to set up a grid so they can write it down because we seniors like to write things down. So you write it down. Well, when I accomplish that action step, I'll replace it with another one. So I keep it going. And if
yeah,
you look from top to bottom, it says, there's my goal, maybe to be that instructor, that yoga instructor. Well, here's what I have to do. That's my long-term goal. Well, what do I have to do? Maybe I have to uh, take a course in communication. I have to take another course in my program. And then under those are action steps. Maybe I need to raise some money to do that. Maybe I need to upgrade my computer to do that. What now those are your action steps. And your action steps are the only thing you're really focusing on.
right.
If you do the action steps and you keep consistent with those, you get to the long-term goal. You can't miss as long as you stay consistent.
Right.
It's a very simple program. And I teach that when I counsel, and they say, this is ridiculous. It's easy. How come no one else? I don't know why no one else taught it. It's really very simple. It's what I use every day, and I'm one that I might have two or three long-term goals, but that's me. If
Exactly.
you have one and you're working it and you have your short-term goals and your action steps, it's so easy to do. So you're not plugging into a long-term goal that's overwhelming. You're plugging into your short-term goal. The other thing about, and it's a huge piece of advice for seniors, is do not compare yourself to anyone else.
Oh, so true. You're
That
absolutely
will
right.
tear you down. The very fact that you chose to compare yourself, you already started by saying, I don't measure up. Don't do that. It's their program is their program.
Right.
You set yours. You
Right.
compare to no one. If you don't know something and you need to ask for advice, by all means, go ask for advice. If you know someone who knows it, or you can get it online. But never envy and never compare. It's a shot. You'll kill yourself with it. It's a wormhole you don't want to go down.
It's true.
We have to consider ourselves worthy. We have to consider ourselves intelligent, capable people, and we have decades of experience that young people don't have. They have energy and they're bouncing off the walls with it. We don't have to do that.
Right.
We know where the pitfalls are, and we go out and we are intelligent people. That's
Yeah,
how.
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
worry about that with the younger people because they're so tied into Instagram and TikTok and comparing themselves with the influencers, be it real or fake or whatever is out there. And I wonder if they're going to be able to get out of that think thinking the way they think
I don't think
um,
they will.
they get older.
We talk about the world evolving. I remember my grandparents looking at us and saying, "My God, this is going so fast," and it was a snail's pace compared to the way it changes today. And with AI coming in, they're just going to plug in and go faster and faster, and that's just the way it is. That's them. And the neat thing about it, people say, "Oh my God, I can't catch up with that." We're not supposed to.
Right.
They left the niche that we now have. We actually have more room to do things because even the 40-year-olds, they're out doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Computers have been with us for over 30, 35 years, whatever it is now, so they're in that. We have a niche that has been vacated and all the world to maneuver in the world if we just decide to stay active.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, what we can contribute to these changes, I think is,
It's
I mean,
huge.
it's
We have the
huge.
history. We have the understanding and the knowledge to move forward. And the bottom line is the only time you are no longer in the game is when you quit.
Yeah.
So if you never quit, you're in. And so
Yeah.
what? Go make mistakes. The other thing I tell people, you're going to make mistakes. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're not intelligent or you can't do it. That
Yeah.
means you're active.
Right.
Active people make mistakes.
Exactly.
People that aren't active don't make any mistakes. They don't go anywhere either. And then like you said, anxiety and depression and loneliness, that all sets in be active, make mistakes. And when you make the mistakes, say, okay, let's go figure out where I went wrong here and pick myself up and go again
Right.
every day.
It's never what happens to you, it's how you react to it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think AI will change how retirement happens or what people do in retirement?
I don't think it's going to change us too much, because it really it's for the people, it's for the world as it's moving forward. It's you know, they'll look at us, and I'm very comfortable with them saying, "Oh, you're dinosaurs," and that's just fine. I don't have a problem with that. That's your opinion of me without looking any deeper, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
It's good. It's good. It's going to be a young person's game. Those of us that are, in this life bracket, if you will, it'll affect us somewhat,
Hmm.
but not as much as it's going to touch their lives. They're in the thick of it now.
Yeah,
And the key is they're embracing it. If everyone stopped embracing AI, it would go away because no one would use it.
it's true.
Okay. They're embracing it. They love it. Plus this whole information way of living life and all the fast paced, it's addictive to them. So they can't stop.
Right,
We're not in that addiction.
right,
We're not
right.
involved in that. So we actually have more freedom than they do.
Well, we can take the information, we can reflect on that information and use our experience, as older. We've been through so much of it. My sister and I, she's 9 years older than me, and we were talking about that, what life was like in the 60s, how change was happening then, and how change is happening now. And, we were comparing, issues and how things, I mean, obviously, like as you said, now it's so much faster. And it is an addiction at this point.
It
It
is.
really is. So
It is.
many friends. I mean, how many times do you go out to a restaurant and you see three, four people at a table and they're not talking to each other? Everybody's on a phone, which
How about
I don't even understand. But
we've mastered we've mastered the skill of slowing down.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
Abs-
and when you slow down, you pause, that gives you a chance to look and say, let me look at everything going on. And then you
right,
pick and choose what you want to go into and what you don't. And as you say, we've made the mistakes. We have been through the grind. So, we know where the landmines are. We're not going to step on that.
right,
When it gets too fast, the young people are accelerating their bodies. This accelerant, that caffeine product, whatever it may be. And when we start to get accelerated, we say, mm-mm.
right,
We got to a threshold. We need to back up now
right,
and rethink.
right.
That's an advantage that part of the world doesn't have. We have that.
It's
They
true.
need us. And that's the other part I tell. We're not archaic. This world needs us. We have to embrace that concept. When we realize how much they need us, we become important to ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, there's 10,000 plus people a day turning 65 until 2030, and then the next generation picks it up. So, using that knowledge base, using the skills and everything that that demographic has to offer just makes sense. It just makes common sense, but it only makes common sense, I think, if, as you say, you stop, you listen, and you observe. And you actually take the time to
Mhm.
stop, listen, and observe versus constantly being fed whatever it is that you're being fed.
Yeah, and they're being fed at such a fast pace that they don't take some time and become critical thinkers about what's coming in. I mean, you can go on social media. They're going at each other with anger and aggression, and they just follow along. They're not even. People came in and they talked about influencers, and I said, "Well, who's the influencer you're following?"
Yeah.
And they didn't know. And I said, "Well, what exactly is the end game?" And they didn't know. I said, "Then why are you following?"
I know.
It's sort of like, you're following someone leading the parade and you don't know where the parade's going.
I
Somewhere
know.
along the line, you have to say, let me slow it all down and make some decisions. And the other thing they're not good at, that we're very good at, is getting information.
Yeah.
They go fast and we say, wait a minute. Okay, that was posted there. This is a routine for me. If I see something posted on Facebook, now I go and I do a search. Is this really happening?
Right.
9 out of 10 times it isn't, but they're all following that.
Right.
We
Right.
don't. We have
Right.
we have the humility to keep on learning, and we have the wisdom of the years. And you put that all together, we make sound judgments. We are still able to control a huge part of the program, but we can't take a step back because we think we can't.
Right. I mean, I think critical thinking and analytical thinking are two skills that younger adults or maybe the education system, I don't know, is just not being taught or not being encouraged or not. I don't know,
When
you
I was
know.
in college, we called ourselves, the more enlightened age. We would listen to everything, uh, but they presented all different sides. When I talk to students coming out of college now, you know where the professor stands, and that's what the professor teaches, but they don't teach that one. So there's this divisional kinds of thing,
Yeah.
left over right versus right, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
whatever, right.
And news sources the same way. Growing up, you know that the journalists presented the facts, and then we made up our mind. They don't do that anymore. They prepare the dialogue that leads in a particular direction. So these people are all being led. Uh, and the more that happens, the less you think. You give your mind over to someone else. So
Exactly. And it's going to be interesting to see how this generation, the younger generation, converts over when it's time for their retirement. It's going to be very interesting to see that transition. I hope I live long enough to see that. But
and me
I
also.
think, yeah, I think we're in a great time. I mean, it is scary because change is so fast and things are happening so fast, in every which way, economic, political, technology. It's like everything is just happening all at once, it seems like. But at the same time, as you say, if you can connect into that, if you can step into that a little bit with the skills that you have, then it's not so scary. It's not so overwhelming. If you put it into bite-sized pieces, like Atomic Habits, that book Atomic Habits broke everything down into tiny pieces and it made it more manageable and not as overwhelming and frightening.
And that's the way we have to approach things. The other thing is we have to be willing to do the work. Our generation was taught this is how you do it. And by the time we were 16 or 17, they expected us to be grabbing that. 18, we could be leaving the house and now they're home till in their 30s.
I
And
know.
because they're just not capable and they blame it on the economy or they blame it on this. It's everything outside of themselves that's the problem. And we didn't do that. We
Right.
looked at it and said, okay, this is what I have to do, and I need to go out and do it. We were willing, to get in there, get in the mud, so to speak, and do what we had to do. They're picking and choosing, and they believe they're entitled to some things.
Yeah.
We don't, and again, that's why I say we're so important. We don't have that entitlement thing.
Yeah.
We're still willing to work.
Yeah.
You just have to have a plan, a
Yeah.
decision that, yep, I'm going to do something. Now let me get a plan. Doesn't have to be anything that's world shattering, just a plan. Get up every day. And at the end of the day, when I lay my head down, I say, okay, this was a good day. I was happy, did some nice things, accomplished some things that I felt good about. And I had that little plan that I'm working on, and I did some things with it. If you can say that in retirement, you're in a great place.
It's true. That is very true. If you can say that every day, you're in
Hmm.
a great place. Do you think companies will change how they look at older employees?
I think they already are. The young people are so unwilling to work. I have a lot of companies that I work with that, first of all, people are staying longer.
Good.
That I mean, before I remember in my parents' age, you would retire, maybe you were 60, you were good, you were done. Uh, Social Security has been pushed back to at least 62, but full to 67. So, they're looking at those numbers, but then they're also realizing that you know what? I can still go. We're healthier. Than the previous generation, and we are still plugged in, and wanting to do things. Uh, Absolutely. I just think we just have to go. Just get down, get in the mix and go. Do it every day. I get up every day with a little plan. I may even write it down the day before. I've got five or six things I'm going to do tomorrow. I write it down on a little piece of paper, and as I do them, I scratch them off. At the end of the day, I have 2 minutes, 3 minutes of review time in my own mind before I go to bed, and I say, okay, how did I do today? And I don't have to conquer the world, as I say, but I had that list. Some of those things are just mundane things. I had to go out and, it's we're shutting things down here in the Northeast, so I had to get some things done outside. Some of them will be in my program. I'm doing a podcast today. I have to write something for a magazine article. I have those things that I'm getting ready. At the end of the day, I say, okay, did I have time for myself? Did I relax? But did I engage? Did I
Yeah,
do those things? And that process keeps me plugged in. That's what I want to do.
I love that. So what is your 5-year plan?
For me, I'll continue writing. We have 6 books in the program, and it might
Wow.
be 10. We're doing a documentary on trauma. It's a possible series. Production company has it. They're shopping for a host for the show now. It's a show about recovering from trauma, uh, and we're starting with the shooting in Las Vegas, and
Right.
and we have a survivor who spent 8 hours running in and out of that bullet, uh, all the bullets, and rescuing people, but then went down in his own trauma afterward and took himself, I think, 2 or 3 years to recover and come through it, went through
Mm.
all the PTSD. So it's going to be about him. It looks like there's a lot of interest. If that's the case, then we may make a series out of it, and then whatever else life presents me. I say, if you stay active, something comes your way. It just does.
It does.
If you're
Absolutely.
out there, yeah, you can't, it's the old Cinderella story. You can't stay in the house and the prince comes to you. You've got to go to the ball. So
That's
I
right.
tell people all the time, get out there. Doesn't matter where you go. Just be active.
Right.
Walk. Whatever you get out of your house and join a club. Join,
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, but be with other people being active.
Yeah. Are there any specific groups that you encourage people to join? I mean, I know AARP has a lot of programs available, YMCA, Lifetime Gym, I think it's called, Lifetime Gym.
Those are those
There's
are
a lot of places.
great places to start. I always tell people, if you can get yourself into the YMCA or a health club or whatever, go in, and again, don't compare yourself. The
Right.
muscle guys are over there. You're not competing with them.
Right.
Get on a treadmill or an elliptical trainer, or go in the swimming pool and just be active, and set goals for yourself.
Mhm.
Try to get a little better at the program. Maybe, you went in and you can go on the treadmill for 5 minutes. If that's all you could do, you maxed out.
Right.
Maybe tomorrow you do 5.5. And what you'll find is, at the end of the month, you're probably doing 15 minutes on that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Then maybe you might say, I'm going to set the speed just a little faster. I'm going to put that incline up just a little bit, make it just a little harder.
Hmm.
I have friends that are early 70s, and they ride bikes at 10 miles a day, up hills even. And we were with them last night, and I have, for me, I'm 71. I have a gym in my basement. We have basements here in the Northeast, and we have 10 machines, and I go down an hour every day and I work out. It's part of the program.
Right.
Watch your diet.
Right.
We get older, we have a tendency to say, well, I wasn't going to have an extra glass of wine, and then we go do it. Stay
Yeah.
away from the alcohol. It's a rut you don't need to get into.
Absolutely. One of the articles that I wrote on, because I couldn't find much information. I have a website, seniorsafetyadvice.com, that I started in 2018 because my plan was that when I did retire at 67, that I was going to do that full time. Of course, that ended up spurring other projects, but
Right.
that's what started it. But I planned it back then, and I knew that it would take time to build it and all of that. But because of that, I got into a lot of, looking at a lot of websites about, excuse me, caregiving and senior care and all of that. My history as an OT working in geriatrics with neurological impairments, just gave me that skill. And I figured, I want to share it, what I know. And I couldn't find, if any, I couldn't find information on older adults, alcohol, and the effect, how caregiving for aging parents who are alcoholics or addicted in some way to, or have problems with alcohol, maybe, well, I guess if you have a problem, you're an alcoholic, but I wrote an article on that and I get so much feedback on that from people saying, oh, finally, there's some information here that I can use that can help me. So, I mean, I'm going to write more, but there's not much information out there on that topic.
No, there isn't. A lot of people kind of look at retirement the same way they look at a vacation. Ah, I'm not working anymore. I'm going to relax. I'm going to have a good time. And then they're eating more, they're less active, they're drinking more. They're if they're socializing, maybe it's a little here, a little there. Socialization time is go out to eat. It's all around that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with doing some of that. Have fun, enjoy by all means, but you know, take care of your body.
right.
Get enough sleep. Get on, keep another very important part I omitted is have a schedule for yourself. I'm again, I'll be 71 at the end of the year. I still get up the same time every morning. I still go to bed the same time. I make sure I get enough sleep because that is huge for
Yeah.
seniors to go forward and be healthy and keep your mind where it needs to be. So sleep, eat the right kinds of foods, right amounts, keep your weight where keep it down. Watch the medications, that you don't have to take, the drinking. There's some very simple steps, very healthy steps. Live a healthy physical life. That's where it starts. Then you now have prepared yourself for that next step. I want to do that because a lot of times I'll hear people say, well, I'd like to do that, but I was just so tired today. And I said, oh, geez. When I hear that, I said, you have all the energy in the world if you just learn how to tap into it. You're preparing your body for retirement. Stay healthy,
So what,
engage your mind.
why do you think it's so difficult for so many people?
I think they began the slide long before they retired. They started looking to retire. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of this. They started looking at retirement as an end game. They
Like
didn't.
senioritis.
You got it. They didn't say, okay, that's the end of this. And I always actually I ask them to kind of pull that word, the end, END, out of your word. Okay, this is going to change. Make that change now. I will stop working. I will make a change into the next part of life and pick what you like to do. But as soon as you say it's the end game, you're done. Now what do you do? And I have so many friends that, I'll say, what did you guys do? Oh, well, we're going to go to this. We meet for breakfast,
Yeah.
and then we're going to hang out at this guy's garage and we watch the sports. And I said, okay, you're doing all those nice things you wanted to do, but what else are you doing? Let, by all means, go socialize, relax, have a good time. Get a functional schedule, get something to look forward to every day. Be be productive. This could be the most productive time of our lives if we want it to be, because we get to do what we want to do. And if we pick something that, you know, uh, makes us feel good, increases our own empowerment, and gives back, because that's the other part of this part of life. We feel we're not productive, but we're also not needed anymore. Yes, we are.
Yeah,
We
we
need to
are.
give back. So because when you give it, then you see it out there. You see it come alive out there.
Right,
That's a big part of all of this.
right. I mean, it is so fulfilling to me when I get wonderful comments, from people from our YouTube videos or articles or whatever. Oh, this really helped me. Thank you so much. Or question anything at all. It's so fulfilling. And I mean, I get a lot of, I don't know about you, about your friends, if they give you a lot of, not feedback, but a lot of pushback,
Mhm.
about, Esther, why don't you come out to lunch with us? Or why don't you do this? I said, well, I'm working. Oh, you're always working. It's like, but I have things to do, and I can't go play bridge or whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, have fun, do it. But I get a lot of pushback. Do you find that you almost have like two sets of
Sure.
friends, people that are productive like you are and people that are,
Absolutely. And I don't care what they're doing. I said we were
right,
out with friends last night and they're retired and they do a lot of going to their family, grandkids games, but they ride bikes and they exercise and they're involved in some community things where they give back, involved in the church.
right,
Those are all good things.
yeah,
They don't sit at home doing nothing.
awesome,
They get up and go. So you don't have to be doing a podcast. You don't have to be writing books. You don't have to be
right,
doing something that's big. You should be saying, yeah, let me go be productive. Let me see how I can still give to this world
right,
so that I can see it. There's that reciprocity. That's me getting something for me and I'm giving something. You still feel useful. Some people are of the mind that say, I've been giving all my life. I'm tired of giving. And I say, well, just rearrange how you're giving. That's all.
right,
Decide how much you want to, but get out there and we can be influencers. You don't have to be influencers on a global level. You might
right,
influence 5 people. Go
right,
influence those people.
right.
Make their lives a little bit better, yours in the process.
Exactly, exactly. I love that lesson. I think people who work, excuse me, who work with you are very fortunate.
Well, you know what? So I'm fortunate in that I've been I always say I'm the kid that grew up doing what I think I was meant to do. I'm the older person who never went to work one day in his life, and in the meantime worked 12 and 13 hours a day. And I'm the older version of that who's engaged and still doing things. I don't get up at any day and say, "Oh, here we go again." I say, Lord, let's go.
Right.
So, if you're willing to do that, you can. It's right there. It's a mindset. You've got to
It
get up, positive energy, and here I go.
it really is a mindset. At the end of the day, your mind controls everything.
It does.
My late husband was a psychologist, and after he left that and he became a physician assistant, a PA, where he worked in family practice. And he
Mhm.
would often come home and he would tell me, you know what? Majority of people aren't coming in to see me for this. They're coming in to see me for this.
You're
He
darn
said,
right they are.
he said, this is like affecting this. He said, oh my goodness. I mean, he was fortunate that he had training in both and skills in both. And the doctors he worked for loved him because he had that. But I mean, he was able to see in the patients, and it's true. Your mind can control just about everything. But it takes work. It takes
You
work to get that going.
but love the work. When I'm working with people, regardless of what I'm working with, I say, if you decide to make change in your life a chore, you will hate it and you will run away from it.
Yeah,
If you embrace it and have a good time with it,
yeah,
like anything else, you will stay with it.
it's true.
It's as simple as that. You don't look at this part of life and say, oh my God, here I am. What do I do now? You say, okay, here I am. I'll tell you what I'm going to do now. That's the way it depends on how you look at it. And, people I'm sure will listen to this and say, well, yeah, but you don't know what my life's like. And I say, you know what? I'm sure there are challenges.
Yeah,
But the bottom line is, regardless of what your life is like, you have two options. You either decide to embrace it and run into it, or be overwhelmed and run away from it. We have people who don't have legs. And I just went to uh, in the summertime we went to it was a Christian kind of a big production in Philadelphia. And I forgot the man's name, but he has no arms and no legs. And they put him on a table, and he is a motivational speaker and travels around the world and now makes big bucks to do all of this
Well,
because he said, nothing is going to stop me. Now, his thing is, if I have no arms and legs, and here I am in front of you, and I'm willing to do this, are you really going to tell me that those little challenges that you have, and I look at them as little, he says, that's what's holding you back? I can't embrace that concept. And,
wow.
and that's what I say to people. Are they cutting off your legs? Are they what's going on? Well, I'm just so stop making excuses.
Right.
Go get scared. Go be overwhelmed and then work your way through it. And if you need help, then go get help.
Yeah. That's
Call
the other
people and say,
thing.
hey, I'm having problems with this. I
Yeah.
don't, good. I'll be glad to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other factor that I find several of my friends or family have trouble with is they don't go seek the help that they, need or could use. I don't know what is perception or, I don't care if it's a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist. I mean, whatever it is, you need someone to help you through the process. We all need each other to help through the process. But I wonder, if it's, words are so important to me. I think words frame our mindset, words frame our thought patterns, everything. So is it just the pattern of words we're used to telling ourselves? Is
That's
it,
part
how
of
do
it.
we switch that? You know?
The new book I wrote is called is the Fix Your Internal Language Handbook and the way we talk to ourselves. And people don't get help because they've talked themselves right out of the fact that
Yeah,
they have there'll be some work and they have to be accountable to themselves. We all have to understand we are accountable to ourselves. We don't get help because someone's going to say, "Well, we got all the information, do this." And then they go, "Oh, I have to do what?" Embrace it. It's not work. It's fun once your mind embraces that. But the
right.
way we talk to ourselves, I always tell people in that first 3 seconds when something happens, the decision you make will tell you how you're going to address it. So
Yeah,
if you respond emotionally and go, you're already gone. But if you hear it and say, well, let me take a step back and think about this, now you engaged your mind. So engage your mind or engage your emotions.
right.
And I have a little concept I call I over E, and intellect over emotion. Get your emotions out of the game first. Get your
Yeah,
brain engaged so you can decide what to do.
yes.
Then bring your emotions in so they're emoting over facts and the right information.
Yeah.
Simple.
Most,
It's a very simple thing to do, but you just have to. Every time something happens, instead of reacting and getting angry or afraid or what, just say, "Wait, let me just take a step back here."
right.
As soon as you did that, what you did is you flipped the switch and got your brain in the mix. That's what we need.
Right, right. And you're absolutely right about emotion. I think it's, and I don't mean to be stereotypical, but I think especially for women, it's very difficult to step back away. I mean, the first reaction I usually, hear from my female friends is emotional. It's
Always.
like, what are you talking about? And then of course they're talking from their emotion, from what they're feeling. That comes up first. But as we were saying earlier, you need to stop, you need to think and listen and really stop, think, and listen. But it may seem easy, I think, but not. It's not for everyone. I think they really have to learn to do it. It's a shame it's not taught in school.
Right.
High school, elementary school, whatever. All of that should be taught at that point because it takes that long to develop it.
Well, we have to understand that learning, when we talk about learning, we are retraining our brain. That's what learning is. And
Yeah,
learning is always a function of repetition over time.
yeah,
The more we repeat the process,
yeah,
the more positive energy we put into it, the faster we get to the goal and the more concrete that goal becomes. It gets solidified.
yeah,
We don't do that. We do something for a little while and say, "Ah, it's not working," and then we stop because
Right.
we don't want to keep committed to it.
Right.
We just stay, if you stay with
Yeah.
a program to change, you will make the change. That's the way the brain is. And people say, well, that's hard for me to understand. And I say, okay, let's go through all your negative habits. Did they just show up? You've been doing it all these years. So you did a negative training program on your brain. There's the proof that your brain learns over time. Repetition over time but you did it negative.
Right.
How about if you do it positive? How about if you apply repetition over time with positive energy? Do you think you'll be happier?
Yeah.
You've proven to yourself you can do it. You just have to
Yeah.
do it this way now. That's
That's
all.
true. Have you done a TED Talk yet?
I haven't. And that's just about time.
Put that on your list.
We may. Those are the things where, again, I thought I would retire and I'm going to have more time. And I took on like the practice is here and I'm writing and I'm interviewing and I'm this documentary and those meetings. And
Yeah.
it's just, haven't had the time yet. But you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
When I look at it, that's one of the things we talked about. Um, will it be necessary? I don't know. I have a couple people that want to do one with me. Let's do one together and we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. That's a good
It's
way to start.
it's a
I like
fun
that
thing.
idea also of doing things initially in a group.
Absolutely.
And then if you have to do it solo or want to do it solo, you can learn from the group and move on. Yeah, I love that.
I've been doing this now since 2019. So I'm into 6, 7 years. And I remember starting to do podcasts at that time and, you're learning it. And now a bunch of us, 10, 15 of us who kind of cut in together are now becoming a bit on the influencer end, if you will. And now
Right.
I was talking with one of them. She interviewed me on her podcast again, and she said, do you remember the first time we did this? Man, we were fumbling around trying to figure out. It had about 3 views, but we were laughing because here was the learning process, and
Right.
so many of the other people kind of fell to the side because they didn't see the results they wanted right away. And here we are still doing this. And her podcast now has something like 10,000 people every time she does one, and, and she is, I think is 74, something like that, and
Wow.
still going, and her
What is her
newsletter comes
podcast?
once a week, and you just keep doing it. It's fun. And then you go back and see those people that stuck with it,
Right.
and you think, old friend, how are you?
That's right. I mean, for 25 years, I did internet marketing. After OT, I went into internet because I was doing all continuing ed courses and it got me in the
Mhm.
internet and that was fascinating, whatever. But I can't tell you how many small businesses, would close down after 6 months, 8 months, a year. It's like, no, I know it takes 3 years or more to
Exactly.
you just have to keep going, but you have to plan for that, of course. You know it's not going to do much in the first 2, 3, 4 years, whatever. Take your time, it will happen, but you have to persevere.
And enjoy it. Don't make this a chore.
Yeah,
I always say, now I'm 70. I thought, how many years am I going to have? Do I want to put drudgery into my life? Do I want to put
right.
depression? Get up every day and say, oh, gee, I don't know. For, I'm hoping to be around for 30 more years,
I hope
that's
so
my
too.
plan.
Yeah, I hope
You
so
know,
too. That'll be awesome.
you
I
know,
can't wait.
but if that's the case, I want to enjoy every second. That I
Right.
always say the Lord gave me all these seconds in my life, and I want to maximize every one of them. That's my view on it. And
That's
get up
right.
with that kind of energy and be able to say that these are moments of my life. I have control over a reasonable amount of this. Whatever I can control, I'm going to. What I can't, that's okay. But what
Exactly.
I can, I want to make sure I'm doing the right things there and enjoying it.
That's true. The act of letting go is yet another factor. Letting go of, like you said, the negative thoughts, letting go of what other people think of you, letting go of failures or what you perceive as failures. Letting go is very, very important. Looking forward instead of looking back.
Absolutely. To me, a failure is nothing more than, okay, I didn't have it all, I didn't have all the right information there.
Right.
So based on that, I have to push that out and I got to include some other things in there. Now I'm going to try again.
Right. It's just a learning. To me, it's a learning thing. I mean, I am deep into all the new AI technology, prompt engineering and AI agents and learning all of that so that I can teach it,
Right.
to the members of the directory. I mean, my, members there get marketing webinars every week. So I have to learn it to teach
Exactly.
it, to give it to them. And yeah, I mean, I say at the very beginning, I am no expert. I'm learning along with you. Let's learn it. And then if I learn something new or I did something wrong, then, I send something out saying, hey, let's try it this way. I think it's better. But then I always welcome everyone else to say, if you learned something, tell me.
I want to know.
It's a
Yes.
group, right? It's a group learning thing. It has to be. Who am I? It has to be. Oh, Mr. Ruggiero, I so enjoy, and I love your name, Ruggiero. It gives me the opportunity to use my little Italian
Yeah.
that I know. So my parents were extremely Sicilian. I always say I grew up in America, but in my house, it was Sicily.
Well, that's how my whole town was Italian. Uh,
Oh,
it was a little town in Pennsylvania called Roseto, Pennsylvania, which was named from the immigrants that came over in Italy. It's Roseto Valvatore, Italy. So it became Roseto, Pennsylvania. All Italian governed, we governed that way.
yeah,
Doors were opened. Every family was in each other's homes. It was the old way of living,
right.
and it was so much fun to live it in that type of a culture. And everyone you knew was Italian. That's just what we did. So it was a lot of fun. And it's changed now, but it's still
Yeah.
it's still what's inside.
Of course. I mean, you were fortunate enough to have that experience. And I think you growing up that way, I think that embedded in you the ability to be able to now you can share that with
Absolutely.
others and you can see what's lacking, because you grew up with that Italian Ozzie and Harriet kind of life. So how do people hire you? How do people get in touch with you to
Best
use as
way
a counselor?
is my website. It's my name,
Okay.
faustruggiero.com. Everything about me is there. The books, excerpts from the books are there, media interviews, all that kind of stuff. And there's a contact link. And by all means, for anyone, contact me if you'd like to. I do get back to people, and not one of these people that said contact me, and that's all. I
Yeah.
get back to people.
Yeah, it's very important to keep in touch. I mean, that's one of the most important things in social media and in anything. Email especially. I spend at least an hour, hour and a half every day on email, answering back and forth. And yeah, I could use AI to do that, but I'm not there yet.
Neither am
I
I.
think it has to be personal at
Me
this
too.
point.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, that's what we get from our knowledge of being older.
Exactly.
I love it. Oh, Mr. Ruggiero, thank you so much. I did record it late, but I'm going to add information to it, introduce you, and get this out there. Again, it's going to be on multiple podcasts, two YouTube channels, and then I'll also create shorts and get that out on LinkedIn and Facebook and Pinterest and all the
All
places
those
people
things.
tend to go to.
And when we get the link, we will put it on my social media, linking back to you. So, we'll get
Okay.
some traffic your way.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggiero. I am so honored. Thank you so much. I so look forward to that TED Talk. I think I'm going to go on the site now and order every single book. And I will talk to you later. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
All right, sir. Thank you. Ciao.
This podcast is part of our mission to help older adults live safely and independently. If you'd like to take the next step, visit aginginplacedirectory.com, where you'll find specialists, helpful resources, and inspiration to make every home your place to thrive.